All right. Hello, Kaitlyn. Everybody, this is Kaitlyn Sawyer. She is a very recent graduate of the University of Missouri. She graduated last year, or this year, 2020. And so we're going to talk to her about being a poli sci major, actually double major, and all kinds of things. So first question, I guess, Kaitlyn, is what made you want to major in political science? Why did you major in political science?
Yeah, so coming to the university, as Dr. Horner knows, I'm a huge sports fan, and I actually majored in athletic training for about half a semester. Before that, this was 2016 when I came to college. So following the presidential cycle was something I did on a regular basis. And my senior year of high school, I loved my US Gov class, or my AP US Gov, whatever. So I kind of knew I was going to major in political science, but wanted to try something different. Um, I I remembered like it was yesterday. We were doing we call it the clinicals. So we go to the different sports teams and we would shadow the athletic trainers. And I remembering one day just talking to one of them about just about the election, like things going on. I'm like, I really like watching them practice, but I think I like talking about politics a little bit more. And then I just said, you know what, let's just change everything. So I majored in political science with the intention of going to law school right after graduation. Decided to put that on hold a little bit, but yeah, basically just a fascination of electoral politics and wanted to do something different.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. So what political science classes did you take that maybe changed your perspective on how you looked at things, or gave you a different outlook on things? You know, you say you like politics and you took government in high school, but was there any class that really sort of changed your view of the world?
I'm not sure if I say it changed my view of the world, but one I did like a lot was Constitution and Civil Liberties. So I took that class. So I took 1100 my first year, and then that was my first class, my first semester class of my second year. And it was a 4,000 level class. So I was a little concerned, but I just love reading the court cases so much, love dissecting like what these judges, their thought process in deciding these cases. And I was like, this is something I could see myself doing for a while. So I really enjoyed that class. I also took healthcare politics with Professor Hazelworth in 2017. So we were breaking down the Affordable Care Act, the good features of it, the things that people are cause a lot of contestation. And I think that just made me think a little bit differently about politics and how these policies are decided.
Well, those are great examples, actually. That's really good. I was thinking about that when I was about to pose that question. I was thinking, would I have been able to answer that question? And I would.
Mhm.
I would. I actually do have a class that I think changed my life in college, but I don't know. Everybody would. That's it. You were on the spot and handled that well, Caitlin. So thank you very
Well,
much.
thanks.
What did you take advantage of? Well, I know you did. Sort of outside of the classroom opportunities like internships and that sort of thing? And if so, what did you do?
Many of them. So I think I did just about most of the programs they have in political science. So I did the internship with Professor Horner. I interned at a local law firm. I honestly, I didn't have a great sophomore year. And towards the end of sophomore year during spring break, I went to all the law firms in town, gave them my resume and cover letter and said, I'm looking for unpaid internship. I'm an aspiring law student. So I just wanted to be around the legal system. So I did that. But my first year on campus, I interned with the Missouri House of Representatives as a legislative intern. And that really sparked my interest or furthered my interest in politics and economics. Then my junior year, the summer after my junior, I interned with Bank of America in a wealth management program. I actually have a full job there now. I'm an associate financial advisor there. I also did with Kinder, I went to Oxford with them my junior year, and I was also supposed to do the policies and European institutions study abroad program with Kafner this last spring. I didn't get to do that. But yes, I did a lot of programs as well as an honors thesis in political science.
Well, so do you recommend doing all that kind of stuff?
Yes. It's
I mean,
honestly, yeah.
go ahead.
I think sometimes doing some of the extracurricular activities are more valuable than classroom experience because you could figure out what you actually want to do
Yeah.
and kind of filter through. Because my first semester, or my second semester, I was interning, at the state capitol. I just became a political science major maybe like a month or two before that, interning, and my rep asked me to go to the economic development committee every Tuesday morning. So I went to the committee. I was also taking, it coincided with my economics class I was taking, and I could see the parallels in, macroeconomic policy we're talking about versus some things I was talking about in my econ classes, and kind of decided to major in it just because I enjoyed it. So I think just having those experiences where you get to, like I said, you filter through it, what you like and what you dislike. You see people in the fields, and most importantly, you get career connections from the people who you're working for, because they're truly invested into your success.
Yep, yep. So I have a question for you. So I know you talked to, and in fact were you the president of the Black Pre-Law Association?
That was,
Or
yeah.
yeah. So I do know that you're interested in law, but you mentioned your internship experience, and I note that you're now working in the field and for the company, one of
Yeah.
the internships you did. So what have you changed? Do you still want to go to law school at some point, or do you really just interested in the kind of stuff that you're doing now, or how is that all playing out, do you think?
Yeah. So I did an internship at Bank of America in like the wealth management division. Um, just because like I majored in economics, and I had a really influential economics professor, Dr. George Chigodaisy, and he was just telling me, I loved his class, his 3229, and he's like, you should really consider, doing an internship in it and see if you like it. So I did it mostly to, I hate to say this, but pad my resume a little bit for law school to get that
Yeah.
corporate internship. And I just enjoyed it. The work, they didn't really have us do much work, to be honest, but I had a lot of mentors at the firm who were like encouraging me. They're like, at least try it out. I mean, it's a well-paying job right after college, and the firm and their people are very supportive. So I'm associate financial advisor right now in a program at Merrill Lynch. Um, my plan is to do this for 3 or 4 years, reevaluate, see if I want to go to grad school, if that's law school, possibly get an MBA, or, continue my career or switch career fields. So it's more of a short term, I think this could be a career for me, but it's just kind of like an intermediate. I graduated from college. I don't want to go and do that $200,000 plus investment to law school right now, especially in the COVID environment. I don't think it's a good investment right now. So yeah, it's just something to do after college, reevaluating my life, but it's also a very great and prosperous career.
Well, and of course, as I'm sure many people have told you, there's nothing that says that you have to at the age of 22 or 22. Are you 22?
I just turned 22. Yes.
Yep. So nothing says that you have to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life at 22. Sometimes you can be 52 and not be quite sure what you're going to do with the rest of your life.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So, so you are currently, I think you told me you're in some training for licensing, right?
Yeah.
So we're curious, or I'm curious to know. I assume there's a fair amount of government regulation involved with your job as a financial manager, and what kind of stuff does that entail? What are you having to study? Does your background in economics and political science help you out at all, or is this all entirely new? What kind of stuff are you having to study right now?
Yeah, my background in political science and economics is very useful. Obviously, more so economics. But to become a financial advisor, there's 3 tests you need to pass. The first is the Securities and Industry Essentials exam. The second one is the Securities, it's like General Securities Representative exam. And the last one is like the, what's it called? It's the Universal Law exam. So I'm actually on the last one. So it's called the Series 66 exam, the Universal Law. So the first half of the book is actually all government regulations. In the finance industry, especially after 2009, in the financial crisis, very heavily regulated. So we have to know the law associated with finance and what we can and cannot do. So yes, the classes are most useful. Yes, a lot of my econ classes, but actually understanding and being interested in politics and law makes it a lot easier to read. So that's what I'm doing right now, but it's a lot of like the SEC regulations, so the securities industry, and like and knowing about the functions of the Federal Reserve.
Well, which it can be really complicated to understand, actually. Yeah. The Federal Reserve,
yeah.
It's like this magical place where things happen. And so, yeah, that's, I think a lot of Americans don't have a firm handle on what the Federal Reserve does at all.
Yes.
So do you have, so I have kind of two questions which are related, but I know for a fact when you were leader of the Black Pre-Law Association, one of the things that you talked a lot about with your members was the importance of learning how to network and develop those kinds of skills. And so I'm wondering, maybe what kinds of tools you recommend that somebody who's maybe a couple of years younger than you should start working on doing, and maybe what social media platforms or LinkedIn or what kind of recommendations do you have in that regard for people?
Yeah, I think my first recommendation is even if you're not sure what industry that you want to go into, put yourself into events where people in the industry are in. I remember specifically last year when I was the president of Black Pre-Law, Missouri Black Pre-Law Student Association. I probably have to say the full name, but one thing I did, we went to the Jackson County Bar Association. So they're the Black Bar Association in Kansas City. And myself and some of my exec members were invited because a person of our parent organization, the Black Law Student Association, was honored for an award. Initially, I was kind of on the fence because, it was going to Kansas City for a day. And the event was very long and I was like on the fence of going, but I had one of the law students who I was pretty close friends with for a few years encouraging me to go. And it was such a great experience, just like to get to know some of these people. And honestly, I knew a lot of people there, but for them to see you again and for you to be interested in something that you're not really being honored or has nothing to do with you, makes people remember you, just to see your face again. But one thing I had a mentor do for me over the summer was he had a questions list. So basically, something I do a lot at my firm, if I see someone who has a similar background as me or someone who is in a position I want to have one day, I will DM them on LinkedIn. I can't think of what you call it right now, but you send them a message and say, hello, my name is this. I'm a recent grad. I saw your profile and I was really interested in your work doing XYZ. Would you mind if you could share a few minutes with me? Because I am aspiring, whatever, just so I get some insight. And about 7 out of 10 times they will respond to you and they will have a conversation with you and they would, want to talk with you. But one thing I had a mentor do for me, he made me a questions list of just like some common networking questions to ask in every situation. And you could like go on the internet and find like some general, networking questions, but these were very specific and they're very thoughtful. So one thing I do when I meet someone new, I might ask them like, if you were talking to someone about this industry, like what are questions that you would want to ask them? So I could have some more questions. So basically anytime I meet a young person who is in a similar position as me, I ask them like, what are some questions I could add to my list? So I have a running list that I use every time I meet with someone.
Great.
And like at the end of it, you say, thank you for his time. This conversation was very insightful. And you send that. And then even afterward, I have like an email template that I send to them as well. So it's very systematic. It's very thought out. But I think the best way to network, be authentic, be yourself. If this is something that you're interested in, just ask questions. People love talking about themselves. Personally, I don't like talking about myself that much, but people love talking about yourself. So you can just ask them questions about whatever, and they'll get a lot of insight. Or you will get a lot of insight just hearing their stories. And mostly, especially if you are, I will be remiss to say that in law, there's less than 5% of attorneys are African American. So when you do network with people who are underrepresented in your field, they want to see more people like you. So most of the times they are willing to help you. So.
Well, that's great. And you can't get help if you don't ask, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So that's the most important thing. And that's really hard, right? That's hard for people to, I don't think you're alone in not liking to talk about yourself. I actually think that's a fairly common problem, right? Or not a problem, but a fairly common characteristic. And it's hard to get over, right? I love to talk. I don't like to talk about myself. So, you know, I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah,
So,
like all right. Thing, but it's even great for professors because that's something I did on campus a lot. Even like there was a professor in Black Studies who, like, actually for my honors thesis, I was thinking my ideals, my themes for my thesis, and I found out that he actually did research in this. So just connecting with him, and we actually had coffee one day, and so it's not just, you know, professionals, even your professors, because they're college professors, so they want to see their students succeed and interested in topics they're interested in. So
that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right, and that's a really good point, right? For those who are watching this, who are maybe starting your college careers, you want to make relationships with your professors and get to know them, because we really do want to help you, and we really like it when you come and talk to us and come and see us. And Kaitlyn did that a lot with us in the Poli Sci department, so we got to know her very well. All right, I have one last question for you, Kaitlyn. Since you are, I have not asked this of some of the other alums who I've talked to who have been out a little longer than you, but what do you think, you remember taking PS 1100 American Government and some of your other classes early in your academic career here at Mizzou? Do you have any advice to give about how to succeed in a Poli Sci class like American Government?
Yeah. I was so Poli Sci 1100 wasn't too difficult for me because I felt like I learned how to study like right before coming to college. It kind of clicked for me in high school, my first 2 years. I felt like I was walking to many exams and not feeling that confident I was going to get an A in it, to be honest, because I'm like, I prepared for this, but whatever reason, it just, you know, it just never translated as well, even though I had a pretty good GPA in high school. I was a very good student, but I became a lot more confident when studying in college for whatever reason, and pretty much was very confident in my ability to get an A on the exam. But I really just enjoyed it and did like a lot of research and had like a lot of background knowledge that was not necessarily in the book for 1100. But for some harder classes, so I think one of the hardest classes I had was some of Dr. Sheena Greitzen's classes, I think, were some of the harder ones. Really, you really gonna have to, you can't just BS it, really. You can't just, you know, oh, I'm just gonna read it a few times and I'm gonna get it. You have to take the time and comb through and know it. So one thing I did was you have to read and write the notes. You have to do like a summary. So we would make study guides on Google Docs, and she might have like some for specifically for some of Dr. Grind's classes. She would give you maybe a study guide or like tips or like things you should study, and you really gonna have to say, you know, do it by memory. So if it's something on Xi Jinping, like what do I know about him, and write down multiple bullet points, because it's not just you reciting information. You're going to be asked to verbally, or not verbally, but to write it out in an essay question. So you can't just know like, oh, 1, 2 things, but you need to create a story behind everything. So again, one of my first Poli Sci classes was 4230 Constitution Civil Liberties. One thing I would do, I'd go through all the court cases, and yeah, you need to know a few of the main facts, but you also need to know how to tell the story in your own words. So just like kind of even like at night, I would, you know, think of a case and say, so what happened? Like, if I had to write a paragraph on this case, what would I say about it? So it's not just, yes, you can know the main points, but in college it's a little deeper than just knowing multiple choice. You really need to know the essence behind it. So start studying about 3 or 4 days before exam, and do an essay question on everyone, or like write a paragraph on everything that you think will be tested, because then that proves that you know it and that you are able to articulate that on an exam.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice. All right. Well, Kaitlyn, thank you so much for doing this. And really appreciate your insight as a very recent graduate of the University of Missouri,
Yeah.
and congratulations on your new career,
Mhm.
and good luck with everything.
Yes.
All
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
all right. Thanks, Kaitlyn.
Great.